Hello. Back in November of last year, I guess you could call it the VCR community, people on YouTube who still have an interest in VCRs, do reviews, teardowns, things like that. The community lost someone, Mr. Magnetoscope. I'll put a link to his channel and videos. And yeah, it's kind of a tough thing. I never really did a video on it. I didn't really know him all that well. I had just sort of gotten into this sort of thing. But he's got a ton of VCR videos out there. Some really interesting stuff too. And so anyway, his family was sort of going through everything, and were nice enough to offer up some of the remaining machines from his collection to other people sort of on the online community here. And originally I sort of went, okay, no, I have enough, but there's two very interesting and one of them kind of special machines to me in here. So yeah, this is a very, very big box. And let's open it up and see how the shipping went. So yeah, this will be a bit of a different video here. Right tool for the job. You know, I have a knife, but apparently I prefer to do things the hard way. This this box is too big for my workbench. Very good packaging. Excellent, excellent. All right, here is the first VCR. Now this, I'll link to Mr. Magnetoscope's video on this one. What struck me as interesting, besides the fact that I love RCA VCRs of the 80s. I don't know what it is about them. I think because they were ubiquitous through my childhood. This actually has the remote. I don't remember seeing the remote in this video. Cool. So, but this is a hi-fi model. But I believe this is either a 2-head or 3-video head, which is pretty unusual. So, yeah, let's get this out and take a look. Just want to give a shout out to Mr. Magnetoscope's dad for going through all this for everyone. He's been awesome and did a very good job packaging this for shipping. Even things like the little flip down door seem to have survived. So let me just unwrap the rest of this and we'll power it on. So figured I'd start out at the back here. Seeing deja vu from Mr. Magnetoscope's video. Controls on the connections on the back, very similar to a typical VCR. These 80s ones had this KTV adapter. Not entirely too sure how this would interface, but I believe this worked with cable boxes, so that this could control the cable box channel or something. I don't know. These control links are part of this being an RCA Dementia series VCR.
The ultimate audio-video system, Demensia, only from RCA.
So RCA sold, you know, the TV, the VCR. I don't know if they were selling Laserdisc players by this point. They definitely weren't selling CD players, but all the audio equipment, which is kind of unusual. If you find an RCA Dementia audio equipment, I don't know how good it was, but it's definitely not very common, so it didn't sell very well. But they sold the whole package, and you would have one of those big RCA Dementia remotes that, you know, you need 2 hands to hold, that has all the buttons, and I believe this link would allow that remote to kind of control everything and switch over. So your audio in and out here would be, these would just be used standard, just like a VCR, and this would go to your AV receiver. And then same thing with this. So it's essentially like a second output. So this would go to your system, and then these could be used for other things if you want to hook a second VCR up temporarily to dub or have it go to something else. The model number, VPT-630HF. So the VP series of RCA VCRs would have been the 1988 model year, which makes perfect sense because that would have been sold late 87 into 88. And I think in his video he saw a stamp inside saying it was made in 87. So yeah, that makes sense. Vertical lock, it's just for special effects so it doesn't jitter. And unswitched output. Let's power it on. I almost don't want to undo this beautiful wrapping of the power cord he did here. All right, power on. Controls are all very similar to Mr. Magnetoscope's video. The lovely red VU meters, it's kind of like an orangey red. Lovely orange VFD that RCA used a lot, especially in the late 80s. This was all over the place. Your front controls, automatic level control, which for some reason isn't actually doing anything. So if I turn this off, I should be able to turn this all the way down and these should go down. For some reason they're not. But that's what this does. So if I turn that on, then these controls won't do anything. It'll just pick a reasonable record level. Stereo mono for the tuner. You go into stereo, there's the second audio program. I don't know what SAP set is. Does something. Tape speed control, all three. The line in, so you can do simulcast, audio line in with the tuner video, or full line. And this was very common of these RCA or Hitachi made RCAs for the programming. I have another Hitachi made RCA with the exact same setup here. This remote, I think this looks a little newer to me. This looks like an early 90s remote. Most of the controls work on it, but you see this has things like fully digital tracking and vertical lock control. But you saw on the VCR, vertical lock control is on the back there. Tracking control is here, and it just has digital slow tracking. Now, okay, interesting. We're going to get to it. This has a slow tracking control, not something you'd normally see on a two-head. Foreshadowing. There was something else. Oh yeah, previous channel. This doesn't have a previous channel function, but it does work. It did work. Oh yeah, there we go. I put in some batteries that are clearly dead. Just enough to verify that the remote does a thing. But let's see if I can get it to show here. Yeah, could just be dirty buttons. This has on-screen display. And this is this very early Hitachi on-screen display. They eventually went to that sort of white text with a little black outline on it that you'd see on VCRs throughout all of the 90s. And even the late 80s ones, but this is the very, very early on-screen display. And you see if I hit menu, this has the original sort of on-screen programming where the only thing that's done through the menu is setting the clock and setting program control for the timer. That's it. Everything else, clear. Oh, this remote. Everything else is done through the controls on the front. So before I pop a tape in, let's take the top off. In Mr. Magnetoscope's video, he talked about this being a two-head hi-fi VCR, which is very unusual. Most of them were 4-head or 5-head. This is even more unusual than that. This is 3 video heads. When I looked this model up, I saw that and I didn't know for sure if that information was accurate. But if you take a look here, here's your hi-fi heads, and here is one video head, and then this is a dual azimuth head configuration. So the idea with this is for playback, you're only ever using 2 heads. So you're never going to get better optimized playback for SP versus EP. It kind of splits down the middle. You get decent picture, but not the best possible. But when you're doing special effects like pause, slow motion, fast forward, rewind, scan, you have this extra head here. And that is used to read the same field with both heads. So instead of hopping from here to here, so this would read field A and B, for example. I can't remember which is which, but you're reading 2 different fields because this swipes for 180 degrees, reads one field, then swipes and reads 180 degrees for the other field. But when your speed changes, like with pause or fast forward or rewind or slow motion, you're not going to be able to line up with both fields. But there's a good chance you can line up with one of those fields. And so by having this extra head that reads the same field, so it's got the same azimuth angle as the one over here, so these two would be able to read the same video track, the VCR, when it pauses, will pause or go into slow motion in such a way to make sure that it can read that track the best. It doesn't have to worry about the other track, the other field. So the long and short of it is this would have excellent special effects and 2-head quality playback. But a 3-head hi-fi VCR, that is special. That is very cool. Whoa. Really? That's weird. I'm still getting the audio from the tuner when I go into simulcast. That's bizarre. Okay, I put in line in. Let's pop a tape in. Now it's going to play automatically because this tape has the record tab out.
It takes a deft touch and supreme confidence to negotiate the multitude of hazards that encircle the small sand. Spectators generally witness 4 times.
So this is exactly what he described in his video. Fantastic audio on the linear track, but no hi-fi available. And what's interesting, when you put it to hi-fi, it's not even like on most of these old VCRs, it will revert back to the linear audio. It'll auto-detect. This just says straight up, no, you get... Oh, now it's working. What?
To create a simply wicked 409-yard par 4.
And it sounds different. When I switch to hi-fi, it does sound slightly enhanced, I would say. What? That's a weird one. I'll grab some tapes that we can test out the difference between the hi-fi audio and not see what's going on. I know he showed a surface mount capacitor that was found inside, and that just gives me all that warm and fuzzy Hitachi bad caps feeling. Taking a look here. That might just be circuit glue on there. I don't think that's corrosion, but that is weird. You know, that discoloration. Adventure. Oh, you know what? It is right around where the capacitors are, though. This will be an interesting adventure opening that up. But for now, let's take a look at the video quality. So, we're on SP right now. I mean, it's not bad.
It doesn't get any
Oh.
And the green is really severe. The first 20 feet of the green rolls back in.
That's interesting. Well, that's definitely a 3-head pause right there. 100%. It's actually got pretty damn solid picture, I gotta say.
You hit it over the green, you're chipping down on it.
Yeah, that's decent.
To the...
I mean, it's not going to be as good as a 4-head dual azimuth because that'll give you the cleanest picture. This is closer to a regular 4-head. But
what you see is what you get.
That squidginess in the picture is interesting. That could just be the on-screen display trying to sync with the horizontal lines and not doing a very good job because VHS is horribly unstable along the side. For each horizontal line, it kind of flagpole and stuff like that. And most modern TVs will lock into it, but you'll see on older TVs they'll do like the peel over to the side and kind of shake. And yeah, it's an imperfect format.
It's usually a bevy of bogey.
But this works quite well. And this is what I remember from these machines. I really like them.
Inch is exasperating.
So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get an EP SLP recorded tape that's hi-fi, and I want to see what this does with the audio. Because you'll be able to tell with an EP recording if it switches between hi-fi and linear. This tape, not so much. Something neat about this VCR, this is the 630HF. The 640HF was the Dementia series that supported Super VHS, SVHS, and I think that was the first RCA branded VCR to support Super VHS. So it's weird that one step below that would not be a full 4-head and only 3-head. Kind of weird. Anyway, let's see what it does. So this is the cassette in light.
Even as warrior cast.
Ooh.
There was no other way. The loss of a few lives more will save us.
Oh wow, that looks bad. So this is capacitors. This is 100% capacitors. Let's see what hi-fi does.
Remember, it was the religious caste. Fighting it. It was they who just stopped.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I thought that was why we fought.
We fight because it is our nature. It is the calling of our heart.
See?
Life and death
Listen.
are simply two possible consequences, both equal, neither valued nor feared above the other. For a warrior, death is simply the release from our obligation.
That is 100% hi-fi. That is 100% hi-fi. I just switched to linear and you heard the difference. It's kind of crackling. Could probably use a bit of an alignment, but it's there. But it didn't say hi-fi here. So either it was doing some blended thing because the hi-fi signal isn't strong enough, or there's issues in here. Now, given that picture, I don't know if this tape's any good either. I gotta find another. This is just random pile of tape that I haven't actually checked myself. But given that picture quality and the fact that this is made by Hitachi in the late 80s, I'm going to say this needs some recapping. And that surface mount capacitor that he found inside here too. That's never a good sign. But interesting. So if I switch back here and then give it a...
Done well, Naroon.
Give me some...
Okay, everybody, please have your identity cards out and ready for inspection.
Yeah, that's hi-fi. That is 100% hi-fi. But the light's not on. So what I want to do now is let's expose the seedy underbelly of this circuit board. I really want to see what it looks like. I'm almost afraid to see what it looks like. This might be crazy, but I mean it is working. I have another Hitachi made RCA that I did a video on like a long time ago, and it was a linear stereo model. I think it's a year newer than this one. This is the next year, so 1989, built in 88. And it had audio issues as well, little weird quirks that I can only assume are down to the capacitors. That one, being a year newer, had a switch mode power supply, I believe, because it had a couple filter caps on this main board that were so bad I was getting a 60 hertz hum on the picture. But okay, looking around here, a couple snaps, 2 screws. Let's get her open. Well, this is interesting. I don't really see any, like there's these integrated modules here. Everything, even these tiny little boards here, all appear to be through-hole capacitors. I don't see anything that would have used a surface mount capacitor. So I don't know where that would have come from. And same thing down here. Taking a look under there. There's your main board. I believe the hi-fi audio is handled back here. I believe so. I'd have to pop this board out to take a closer look. There's a couple little ICs on that board there. This was part of an era where VCRs were still a little bit complicated. Still a lot going on here. I kind of want to take a look at this board underneath here. I think if I take the bottom cover off, I can flip this board down. So let me put this board back and then take the bottom off of here. Here's the underside. Here's the basically brand new belt that Mr. Magnetoscope put in. And you can see all the nasty goop he had to deal with those self-destructing belts that were so prevalent. If you can see a little bit in there. And this is the loading mechanism. Those who keep track of the different mechs will know exactly what to say about this. I think this is the only, this might be the only belt in the machine. Might have a loading belt on top, I'll take a look, but everything else is gear driven. So let's get this board out. Okay, flipped it on its other side. It's meant to fold down this way. Kind of neat, these boards just have 2 screws holding them in the back. Same thing with the board on top, and then the rest is just clips and then they open up. Back when serviceability was still a thing on people's minds. Again though, I don't see anywhere where a surface mount capacitor would go. Let's look at this. Anything on there? No, it's just the back of a board. Well, if there is a hi-fi audio problem and not just in need of, say, an alignment, it will be on this board. You can see this is the servo system control audio board. This board handles all your system controls on the front, play, pause, putting it into all the different modes. This handles the servos, so locking in your speed control for your video head drum and your capstan motor. Yeah, sys control. I love it when manufacturers write on the board what it's for. Sony did that and I really appreciated it. Looks like this Hitachi does the same thing. Pretra? SP, SLP. I'm assuming that's to do with locking in. Well, I feel dumb. Take a look at this picture and tell me what's missing. Look closer. Closer. Yep. I don't know why or how that capstan motor seems to be working just fine despite the fact that that surface mount capacitor is gone. This is me in editing. The VCR is already put back together, so I'm going to go back in there and take a look. I just want to make sure there's no corrosion on the board. To be perfectly honest, if the motor is working fine in all speeds and seems to be locking in without that cap, fine, whatever. But the more I think about it, I wonder if that is something to do with noise suppression from the motor circuit, then that could also be causing problems throughout the machine. So it might be worth checking all those caps. Anyway, back to the video. everything to do with the servo. Cutout, brake, yeah, I think these are all servo related controls. Don't touch that, it's working well. This is all working well. So I'm guessing the audio is down here. DEMS? OEMs? DEMS? Oh, hold on. That is switch 30. Yeah, I think before I go and touch anything here, I would really need a service manual to see what I'm looking at. But I'm going to pop this back in. Let's just try and give it a little bit of a tape path guide alignment and see what that does. Okay, I checked the tape guide alignment. It's perfectly fine. If you're doing tape guide alignment, I know it's like why, but if you buy one of those little security bit driver sets, this bit works absolutely perfectly for adjusting these. Like it's meant for it, and it's fantastic. Just a little tip there. Anyway, put a different tape in, and I think that tape was just bad, that garbly picture, because this was recorded from 1994. And the hi-fi on it plays just fine, and the picture is just fine.
Heard the secret? It's a pretty panty that targets your tummy to control you when you need it most. The Playback Secrets Panty Slimmer in new light control techniques. They really work.
But see, sometimes it doesn't lock into hi-fi. Give it a little wiggle.
From new Frito scoops. Scoops up dips.
So this didn't really have an automatic. If you set it to hi-fi, you're only getting hi-fi. There's no, it's not like the modern VCRs that will just fall back to linear. Now, I don't know if that's on purpose or if that's one of the audio faults on here. Because if you notice, so I have it on hi-fi. There's no hi-fi. And then no hi-fi audio till I hit pause.
Now get 2 medium 2-topping thin crust pizzas just $12.99 plus 3 months of Showtime free. It's a hot deal. It's a cool deal. Domino's, I want it. I need it. Deal. 2 medium 2-topping thin crust pizzas just $12.99 plus 3 months of great entertainment on Showtime free. Something for nothing when you call Domino's. You like food.
So yeah, I mean, it works fine. Very neat. This is a very cool machine. One note, the different video outputs on the back, the system and regular output, I thought maybe those might be like some of those Sony models where you have a monitor out and a TV out, one showing your on-screen display and one not. And I thought, okay, maybe system shows your on-screen display, you hook that up to your TV, and then the just plain Jane video output only shows the video. That way when you're doing dubbing and stuff like that, you don't end up with the on-screen display. Because these Hitachis were awful for that. They would just show it all the time. But nope.
Life is good.
Nice quiet mechanism. I think he's lubricated the whole thing. It works very, very nicely. Mechanically, this works flawlessly. I thought about what I had said with the on-screen display, and I thought, well, maybe my flat screen TV is cleaning up the image, but in doing that, it's actually messing up the on-screen display. And look what the RF modulator is outputting. Wow. Now, this could be this TV. I just grabbed the oldest TV possible. But also take a look. What? What? Is this just a fluke? Yeah. Oh, wait. No, yeah. So what could be happening is this is just waking up. You know, caps and whatnot. That is a weird one. I'm going to grab yet another TV to see if now it's the TV or the VCR. Huh. Yeah, check that out. So this is on the RF modulator output. And you can see it's good there, scrambled there. Now watch what happens when I plug in the video signal. Clean. Bad. That is 100% capacitors. Also check this out. Simulcast is working. Tuner noise. No tuner noise. So yeah, this thing's waking up right now. And I think this is the moment where caps are either going to kind of come back a little bit or they're going to outright fail. So after using this, I'm going to open it up and inspect, because any capacitor that has, like, you know, spilled its juices on the circuit board will cause corrosion if I don't deal with them. But that's also a really easy way to see the caps that are for sure bad. So I think I'm going to split this video into two parts, mainly because I'm really slow at putting videos on the internet and releasing them, so I might get this one out sooner. Also because it'll be really long otherwise. But I just wanted to show this, which was a 1988 model year VCR, and this, which was a 1989, I believe, model year VCR. Both have the RCA orange display, although this one's a lot better. I think it has a lot less use. This was a linear stereo VCR. This is a hi-fi stereo VCR. And they both work perfectly fine. This one has a little bit of servo issues locking into the slower speeds, but it plays SP just fine. This is a basic 2-head model. They both have audio issues. And I think that's just sort of Hitachi of the time. The capacitors in them, they just went bad, and especially now, 30 plus years later. Also, to take a look at the differences 1 year made. So similar tuner controls, come on, focus, your add, erase, and auto program. This one has digital tracking, channel control, record, very basic. This one, everything was now going on to the remote. And I think, I'm just going to shut this guy off, this would be the remote for this VCR. This seems right to me. This might even be a little newer, but this would be more appropriate for this VCR here. Anyway, yeah, I'll see you in the next part. Thanks for watching, and a big thank you to Mr. Magnetoscope's family and Mr. Magnetoscope's dad specifically for reaching out to, you know, everyone in the community about giving these machines a good home. And yeah, this is definitely a very special machine.